know at any point. I would love to see anything. So we can work on it for a while today if you just want to catch up a little bit. But I'd love to just see it, just see where you're at.
And I like kind of have some detailed parts that like I probably won't do. I'm keeping the organic hand grips for zbrush, but I haven't touched on that yet. But I think right now I'm getting going around and just doing the tiny detail part. But technically you can do that with zbrush too. But I'm gonna feel more comfortable doing it on.
That's fine. The what I was getting at was, since I haven't seen a proxy yet, it's nice to see even the simple shape without any details on it, just so I can be like, cool, or maybe we should do this one thing or something. That's all. Because that's the main reason for the proxy, is just to get like the steps of like, this is where I'm at. Like, okay, then I see it that way. I'm not looking for details if it's proxy or anything.
That's what
yeah.
Either detail I should.
Yeah, do it. I'm just letting you know I'd love to see it. Lee is in here though. He's enjoying his company.
Be nice just like that. Have more people around.
Like your personal tutor. But at least you're talkative. It'd be worse if you were like one of the quiet ones.
Yeah, I used to be. It's like I said, I used to be like extremely introverted because of getting bullied a lot in high school.
Sure.
It's like I told you about my high school work, right?
I don't know.
It's like my school is like covers the whole experience of like since from preschool.
Oh yeah, okay.
To high school.
Oh Jesus.
So I've been with the same people for my whole life, and since preschool, there's a big percent of like other students kind of bullies me a lot, and like I think it was so much that I like kind of became immune to it, so I survived it. But man. I just don't talk to people.
Yeah.
Either they bully me or they just become like indifferent to me. So I just like when I try to like talk to them, they would like walks away or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the worst, like I think like bullying is bad, but the worst thing that you can do to a child is like ignore him.
The exile, like it's worse than death. They're considered worse than death.
Thing on shunning ceremony. Have you seen the episode?
It's Star Trek.
I went to Star Trek a year ago, but I binged all everything.
What which one was that in? What show was that in?
I think it was it's either DS9 or Next Generation. Because it was the war storyline.
Sure, those are really good production values.
I didn't want to. I have to admit to a sin. I kind of skipped DS9 and watched Voyager. Yeah, Voyager.
Voyager, the first season is awesome.
Yes,
it's really good, and then it kind of peters out. But the first season is like, whoa, this is like fun. It's cool. Like it's actiony. You get the cool female. Yeah, and they did a lot of stuff that they couldn't do with earlier shows, like the way that the ship could fly and stuff, like because they were using CG. Yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah, I skipped DS9 because in my mind it's like I don't want to just be on the same.
No, that's why I never watched DS9 because it was I wanted the experience of adventure.
Yeah, but man, I was wrong. DS9 was awesome.
Is it? Okay, cool. I might go back and watch that.
Super good. It's like you expect it to be like horror because you're on the same street,
Sure.
but the story writing is so good. You just don't care about it at all.
Yeah. So my first CG program was 1992 Amiga Lightwave, which is a very, very early CG program. It still exists, but nobody uses it because it's just not, it's like legacy. It's too old to be really valuable anymore for anybody. But what I was really stoked on when I was a kid, I was like 12 years old working in CG or just making CG models, was that like Voyager and Babylon 5 all use Lightwave as their production stuff. So I would watch those shows, Sequest, and like I would watch them and like feel like I could make those graphics, and it was very inspiring. And Babylon 5 was the big one because they had a lot of CG in that, and it was all Lightwave.
It was Walking with Dinosaurs.
Oh yeah, totally. I remember that one.
Prehistoric, not prehistoric. There's Walking with Dinosaur, and there was after that they made Walking with Monsters, and that was super cool.
Yeah, that one was cool too. Walking with Dinosaurs was great because of the, they tried to make it feel as real as possible.
And it makes the CG like practical.
Yeah, and it just felt right. It didn't feel like broken. Some of it was better than Jurassic Park.
Yeah, so what was that on about? Something bullying something.
Oh, we were just talking about Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah. I veered into Star Trek.
I don't know where Star Trek came from.
Yeah, where did Star Trek came from when you talk about?
I don't know why are we talking about Star Trek.
Oh yeah, it's about me being talkative, and like, yeah, I was being super introverted because I got bullied a lot. I don't talk to people.
Yeah.
And when I finally reached like high school, like the 3 years before university starts, the bullies just completely stopped because everybody was super stressed trying to get.
Yeah. You stop having that spare time to fuck around.
And so it may be like maybe me beating up one of my biggest bully on like the hell in middle school would have helped.
That definitely is a way to stop being bullied.
So yeah, it was like one of the last days of school when he tried to prank me by putting me into a chokehold. And like the chokehold was like an actual chokehold instead of like just like a funny loose one.
Yeah.
So I begin to like lost off, like I begin to like not being able to breathe. I just swung and hit him right in the temple and then set him back.
Yeah. Nice.
And I started wailing on him. It was bad, but like it felt good. And after that, no more bullying.
Nobody fucked with you anymore.
Because I'm slow, so they always run away. But whenever I got my hands on them, so yeah, and after that, so I became like a bit more, a lot less introverted.
Sure, yeah, totally. You had some confidence.
Extroverted even when I got into university.
It's an interesting story. It's just the redemption, like it's the character building story. It's like I've heard that kind of similar story that like people were bullied until they stood up, and then at that point, like their whole character changed.
It's like no one. It's just my opinion, but like when adults say violence is not the answer, I think they're lying.
Sometimes it is. I mean, that's like the thing about fascism is it's like, well, we're going to use violence to stop or to get exactly what we want, and the only response to that is if they're actually able to get it, is you have to be violent to them. It's like Einstein had to deal with that in World War II, that he was always anti-war, and then he was up against the Nazis, and he's like, well, I'm anti-Nazis more than I'm anti-war. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I guess that's the thing, is like it's all about using it for defense, because whether or not you believe in karma, you end up making more enemies if you're using violence for offense. It's just like creates more problems for you, and more people are going to stand up to you, thinking that violence is the only way to react to you. But I think of it as like it's nice to have violence for defense.
Yeah,
and then if you don't have to use it, that's great. So I like a lot of martial arts kind of works that way. It's not about attacking people. It's just if they're going to attack you, you should have a system to save yourself. Know what to do.
I took taekwondo.
Nice.
On that. It's a bit of a shame because I wasn't able to finish my training.
Sure.
I got close to a black belt.
Wow.
And it's my university took over. I wasn't able to go.
Yeah. But you were almost a black belt. That's crazy.
You have to qualify physically and with like traditional and like how do you say it? So I don't know. I'm trying to translate it into English. It's like a routine. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a routine of like pose from like each types of pose you have to do, and you have to mix it together and remember it and do it perfectly to be able to like go to the master that you are able to move up a rank.
Yeah, to achieve.
And like for the black belt, you have to remember every routine from white belt up until black belt, and then you have to develop one of your own.
Oh, really?
I wasn't able to do any of that.
Yeah. And then I mean, it's like every dojo is a little different, but a lot of them they're like you have to beat somebody else that's a black belt in order to like gain the black belt status.
That too, but that I think it was up to the teacher.
Yeah. That creates a pretty competitive attitude. It's very problematic, but it's also like I've heard people being like,
I think it's always more like a camaraderie.
Yeah. It's not about it's being a part of it all. I guess it was the somebody I was watching was talking about how ridiculous it is to have like 8-year-olds with black belts. Because it's like, how can an 8-year-old actually be that dangerous? But I was a huge fan of Kung Fu. Just love the way it looks and everything. really into Bruce Lee movies.
But me too. My father watched a lot of old Hong Kong kung fu stuff.
Yeah,
He was super into it, and I was like, yeah, oh yeah, that's fun.
it's tough. It's I still don't see people moving on screen the way that they do. Like even Jackie Chan, I feel like is a little more quick than Ip Man. Like I don't know. It's like it's just maybe I'm remembering it differently or something, but they just really knew how to like play with that impact action.
It's I don't know how to say it too, but it's cool. Like yeah, like the old like one shot static cam.
Yeah.
You know, really good stuff.
Oh yeah, and Bruce Lee was so good at that. The because he would actually hit the people working with him. He's like there was real smacks in there. What?
I heard he just hates stuntmen.
Mhm.
Like we would just beat him.
They did not want to work with him. They hated it because that's how you get the real action on camera. It's like did you see was it it was like Once Upon a Time in LA or something.
Once upon a time in Hollywood.
Yeah, yeah, it was that Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah, the one where he shows like Bruce Lee getting beat up.
Yeah, I dug into that story, and it did happen in not quite the same way, but there was a stuntman that was known. He was known that he killed his wife, and he fought Bruce Lee. He lost the first round, which they didn't show in the movie, but then he threw him against the car and broke a car in the second round. Because he got kicked, like, and that's the thing is like the kicks. If you can land a kick, they're incredibly powerful. From a little guy, he was able to like kick a guy across the room with a kick, and so you know, like he had a lot of power. But yeah, if you grab the foot, you know, like there's not much you can do at that point.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I think it was Joe Rogan that kind of got recommended. It was like he talked to like an older stuntman,
Yeah.
and he told the story of that the first round, the law when he lost the first round was like intentional because it was like, oh yeah, now so it was like psychological. It was like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
so you let the guy know, you let the guy think that he like, oh, this
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
sucker. I'm
yeah.
gonna use the same move.
It's like
now
college
that I
darts.
know, yeah. So now that I know his moves, I'm gonna beat him up.
Yep.
You watched the latest John Wick yet?
No. Is it good?
Super good. It's really surprising how long they've like been is,
Milking that
They-
franchise.
but it's they can do it because like it's still extremely entertaining.
Also, it's a simple system of like having one character, like in that it's you just got one actor to work with. You can swap out everybody else and everything. You don't need, like the Matrix had like so many actors and so many complications and stuff. And John Wick is just like, it's just Keanu Reeves, go for it. I don't know how many other people they cycle through, but it's like, yeah, that franchise has been going for a while, and it's just funny because like it's not a complicated or unique, idea, but it's just worked because it's hard to fail.
It's so simple too.
Yeah, exactly. One guy out for revenge somebody killed his dog or something, or maybe his mom. But
It originally was going to have them kill his wife,
yeah,
but then it was like too cliche.
yeah, there's almost something kind of boring about that because it's like the standard hero complex.
It would have been kind of boring and kill his wife.
People are funny too. They often empathize more with a dog than a human.
Yeah. Me too. Because like whenever a human dies in a movie, it's just a stunt person.
Yeah.
And it's not real. But when a dog dies, it's just like
Yeah, totally.
ah.
There a lot of laws against animal cruelty in movies. Well, came from like them cutting a bull in half in Apocalypse Now.
What, they did that?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Do you see that movie?
but I saw the bits of it. I haven't like sat down and watched it.
It's one of the. It's like the tail end of the '70s, early '80s. Everybody was doing these movies that are like 4 hours long with lots of like moments where the character's just staring off into space. It's like total different style of filmmaking than anything we see today. And that's what it is. It's a very long, boring movie, but fucking A, is it crazy. It's like Marlon Brando being this like warlord in Vietnam, and Charlie Sheen, no, Martin Sheen, his dad. Charlie Sheen was his son, uh, is like an assassin to kill this dude. But they play so many like epic moments. And that movie, like as far as any of the filmmakers were concerned, it's like actually shouldn't have been made. It was falling apart and everything. But they changed some of the script and worked with Marlon Brando's immense weight gain and all these like weird things about how he didn't want to work like a normal actor. And they made it work for the movie, and it is a masterpiece of a movie. It's incredible, but it's like it's those there's like old experiences that nobody has time for anymore. Like to be able to sit down and watch a 4 hour movie with nothing happening until the very end. Like in the whole first 2 hours of the movie, he's just kind of wandering around Vietnam looking for the guy and experiencing post-traumatic stress. It's like for PTSD and stuff. And there's like nothing really interesting going on, but there's a few funny moments like I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
There's a lot of big pop culture stuff.
Yeah, it's like Apocalypse Now became very famous for its moments, not necessarily the movie as a whole, but definitely had its moments. but Marlon Brando got pretty good at ruining movies. Like,
yeah, it's like I heard it's super difficult to work with for like Godfather.
yeah, well, in Godfather, they at least kind of like had it all figured out who he was and stuff. Whereas in the earlier like Apocalypse Now, they didn't know he gained all that weight. They had him as like an action hero that was going to fight Martin Sheen, but he was so heavy that it was like he couldn't do it. So they had to like change the script. But it was my favorite is the story behind Island of Dr. Moreau. That's a movie I saw in the theaters, and I was like, "What the fuck happened?" Like the movie just didn't make any sense. It felt like it ended too soon. They were like building to something that never happened. And then I finally like watched a documentary about that movie, and it was all Marlon Brando's fault. He was really hard to work with, and then nobody else wanted to just kind of be under his foot, and so everybody else became prima donnas too. But it's funny. He's notorious for ruining movies at that point. Because Marlon Brando was like a heartthrob in the like 60s. He was a the bad boy with the good looks, but then he became a whole different type of character actor. I love him though. He's fucking awesome. Like really creates this kind of intense vibe. Godfather, that was fun.
I'd watch much gangster movie myself.
Oh yeah. I mean they're old. And like I said, the tail end of the 70s, all the movies are 4 hours too long. But I kind of, I miss it at this point because everything's like made for TikTok now. Like Taxi Driver, Robert De Niro. I like everybody's talking about this movie forever. I sat down and watched it. And I fell asleep like after about an hour because it's just him like in front of a mirror. You looking at me? Look at it. It's like, dude, this is me getting dressed in the morning. What's the big deal? It is cool when the story is interesting because it's like vigilante justice kind of stuff, but uh, it's just funny how that kind of realism in filmmaking was really popular, and then it just went out with the 80s. Action movies came back to being like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Back to the Future. Like it just was way more fun and less about the character development.
I used to try to be like a edgy, not edgy.
Yeah. The edgy, dark movies were a big deal.
Like, I love Donnie Darko. It's like something like that.
Totally. Yeah, you get the people that are film nerds and everything. They go nuts over the long, boring movies, but then nobody else enjoys it.
The latest thing I tried is have you heard of Titania?
Mm-mm.
It's French.
Okay.
Yeah, they should have. I should have ran away with it.
Yeah. French have they're kind of the ones that started that whole genre, the long, drawn out movies.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. Yeah.
It's about a trans masculine person who fell in love with a car and it get really body horror at the end. And it's just that. There's like no story to it.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like how do you say it? It's just a straight line. There's no morals. There's no anything. It's just like, oh, here's the story of this wacky character.
Yeah. Well, it's entertaining.
It was a hard watch. One that kind of yeah, my streak of like trying to watch art house film stopped at Come and See. Have you ever watched it? It's war movie from it's like a World War II movie from like, the perspective of like a Russian boy.
Okay.
And the whole thing is haunting. And it's like, yeah, that's a hard sit through. It's just like I don't know how to even explain it. It's super a bit too real.
Yeah. Too real, Roy. It was too real.
Real. Like, I was just trying to watch it. Like that's I can't. Bad.
Did you see? Was it the IT crowd? You seen that show?
No, I saw like just bits of it.
I recommend it. It's one of the funnier shows that ever existed. But
I do really enjoy like British humor.
yeah, it's great. It's really funny. I think that was one of my favorite all-time shows. It's only 2 years, but it had an interesting arc where like everything just kind of falls apart at the end because you just think it's a funny show, and then at the end they're like, "Do you find it odd that all this weird stuff always happens to us?"
It's always like the comedy show. It's just the meta.
Yeah. They start like becoming self-aware, the characters, and like, are we in a show?
Yeah, Community did really good with that.
Yeah, they I think Community was really inspired from IT Crowd because there's a lot of kind of similar jokes, but the Community is one of my favorites too.
Yeah, we haven't watched much of those, but me and my family usually just watch cooking shows and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Streaming.
Yeah.
So when streaming became a thing, we just watch whatever. And my brother brought up that just like, oh, do you want to just start like running through these like sitcoms? There's this. So me and my brother was like, yeah, let's do it. So every dinner we would just watch a couple episode of like I was not as like famous sitcoms. Like we got through It's Always Sunny.
That was great. Oh my
Got to
god.
Park and Rec, and The Office,
Yeah.
and
What was the second one you said?
Park and Recreation.
Parks and Rec. Yeah. The Office. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super good.
The Office was. It's one of those rare shows that makes it feel like family. Like, it's about an office, but everybody in the office kind of feels like the office is family, and it gives you a sense of belonging just watching it. Like
Yeah.
you feel like you're in on the jokes. You kind of you make fun of the boss. Like it's just like yeah, we would watch it in during one of the games I worked on. It was like Dark Void. We'd watch it because it was like new at that time, and it'd be funny because our boss would say something stupid, and then Michael Scott in the show would say something stupid that mimicked the same thing, and it was just very satisfying. But It's Always Sunny. It's still going strong. They're still got really good episodes.
It's like they're still doing it.
Yeah, yeah. They just came out with a new season. And it was fucking hilarious. It was really good. Then they did all the post-pandemic season at first, and that was pretty funny because like they were being audited about PPE loans or whatever, the thing everybody got during COVID, and everything that like happened during COVID was somehow like integrated into the story, like the January 6th insurrection, there was like all of these things that just like they were like subtly a part of, like just just a little bit of a part of it.
The gang did January.
But they were all mad because Kanye didn't win. Because that was their guy. Kanye West.
Kanye tried to run for president.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah, he was actually in the ballot last year, last time.
Oh yeah, he actually tried. He was so weird. He's such a weird dude.
He has lost his fucking marbles these days. And you know, like the moment you start going full racist, then you only have racist friends that agree with you, and it's like, what are you doing, Kanye? For a while, he like disappeared, and now, like when you see him, it does not look like him. So a lot of people think he got cloned, but that's everybody's favorite conspiracy theory. It goes back to Paul McCartney. That was one of the first conspiracy theories, was that Paul McCartney wasn't Paul McCartney. They replaced him at some point. He died in a car accident, but they thought women would be too sad. They'd kill themselves if Paul McCartney was actually dead, so they found a fake Paul McCartney.
Weird.
Yeah, he's weird.
Like it's never meet your hero because I love a lot of people that just I listen to a bunch of more Western songs.
Sure.
Kind of they kind of turned me into like an outcast a bit because like I barely listen to any Thai songs.
Oh, interesting.
So like when people bond over Thai songs, it's just like I've never heard of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he support Kanye turns out he's weird. Listen to this guy, turns out he's an abuser. To this guy, turns
Yeah,
out
everybody's an abuser. That's just
sexually assaulted a woman.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
it's everybody too. It's like don't go research your heroes.
Like how hard it is. How hard is it to just to not be weird?
I think what happened was it was just like it just became like so acceptable for it wasn't really that big of a deal, so nobody avoided abuse or this and that. They weren't told how bad it was or something. I don't know, because John Lennon, like every artist that lived in the 20th century, like all of my favorite artists all turned to be like jackasses. I was thinking about this because like, is it true that everybody is an asshole? Is that how it is, or what's up? But one of the things that seems to happen is you have a weird thing that happens when somebody becomes a celebrity. So if you know about them, you hear about them, they're a celebrity, but it's like it goes to their head. Guy who played Spider-Man. Yeah, that kind of happened to him, where everybody just says he's just a weird asshole now because he got too popular, and so he just treats people like shit. He doesn't treat them like humans, and you hear about that a lot with people that become famous. Doesn't happen in the video game industry though. Nobody becomes that famous. That's the biggest, like, we don't respect our video game designers, not even as much as like Japan respects them. We just don't care. Flippy B was the biggest celebrity for a little while. It's like, what has he done lately? I haven't even heard of him.
Became an asshole.
That's what
That one
happens.
guy who made Fisk.
Fisk?
Fisk?
I don't know that one. Is that a game?
It was like really cool 2D platformers that like pioneered like the perspective shifting
Oh, sure, yeah.
thing. So and so the lead developer of the game was like a big asshole,
Yeah.
and like people were just talking shit about him for a while, and then he was just like, you know what, Fisk 2 canceled, and he just like stopped developing.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that kind of story a number of times. Like, don't get involved in your message boards.
the drama that have been happening.
Yeah, what is the drama page?
Not anything big right now. I don't know about that. Oh, the submarine.
Yeah, the submarine.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's just some idiots killed themselves. And now we'll spend a lot of money trying to find them.
Like it hurts even more because like the immigrants.
Oh yeah, the Greece, 500 people died while they were looking for this stupid submarine that was clearly already done.
It's like it just makes you question reality.
Yeah, and yeah,
This is real.
no, it's always been hard to like see what's factual and stuff, but now we have these phones that were like directly connected to the news, and they can be programmed, and like like each platform like Instagram or Google or each platform is controlled. Like they control what we see on that. And it's maybe not, I wouldn't say the government's controlling us. I'd say business is controlling us, which is pretty close at this point because America is a capitalist country. Basically, the government is controlled by business.
Some people say like, oh my god, I can't wait for the apocalypse to come. We're here.
Yeah,
It's happening right now.
yeah. I thought about that with the. We've had apocalyptic scenarios in the past. There's the Black Plague in Europe. There was the like smallpox that devastated North and South America, as well as all the other European diseases that were brought over. That was like 9 out of 10 natives died in that situation, which is like, I mean, that's basically an apocalypse by our standards as far as film goes. And then you have going back even further, there's the Bronze Age collapse, which I'm really fascinated about because we don't know how it happened. Like there is just some stories that there were some conquering people and Egypt kind of failed at fighting them, and then everything kind of stopped. Like all of the technology, all the civilizations kind of stopped. I'm really curious about that one because we don't know what society that was.
That's scary. Yeah, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, and they call them this, like Egypt called them the Sea Peoples. So you hear a lot about that in history. The Sea Peoples in the Bronze Age collapse. So that is like basically we don't really know. Like it was just there was a few mentions of a society that came from the sea that was basically devastating all the chariot battles because they didn't have chariots, but they had a way of fighting them that could defeat them. Chariots used to be how Egypt stayed in power. So the chariots, it's like having an anti-tank RPG. Once that shows up, tanks are no longer the impossible force. And I'm like, what happened there? And I looked into it, and a lot of people think that was Atlantis.
One thing about it, I wish it was Atlanta.
Yeah.
It'd be so cool.
Yeah, there's no way. It's like that's too cool.
It's too cool.
It's too good to be true. But I'm curious though. It's like because that is around the era they said Atlantis existed and fell. I don't know. Atlantis can be whatever. Like Atlanta, it could be a number of things. Like a lot of people think Atlantis was right next to Greece. Some people think it was, in the Atlantic Ocean. Nobody really knows. Funny though, because the Atlantic Ocean called the Atlantic, it feels like it's related to Atlantis.
Like part of me wish like this spectacular stories and like this fantasy story would be real.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
one like tiny part of
I mean, one
Give me a dragon.
Yeah, give me a dragon, give me an alien, give me a magic being, anything. Man. Like nothing ever ends up being real. I think of Ghost and Aliens as the last two kind of fairy tales we still believe in. Because I mean, we talked about it. Like ghosts are most people still believe in ghosts. You know, like I'm not sure like what to believe. You know, like there's some times where like I was in my last studio was this weird immigration services building that was turned into art studios, and so there was a lot of weird stuff that happened in that place that felt like it could have been ghosts, and I don't know, but it's like I just wanted to believe, you know.
I wanted to believe in that at the afterlife. I would love it to be real.
Yeah.
Like it's just like part of me that just wants to accept death.
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, and there's food and there's like I don't know, like Thai people are a bit more like open to it because we kind of mixed our rural beliefs into Buddhism.
Sure.
So it's kind of mixed together because technically in Buddhism, ghosts not real. Ghosts not a thing.
Yeah, they don't. I've never heard of a Buddhist ghost.
Yeah, so like it's like technically in Buddhism, it's like when you die, your soul just go away.
But I mean, every Buddhist culture is different, but there's a lot that believe in reincarnation.
Yeah, then just get reincarnate.
I mean, that sounds cool, but then
you spend some time in heaven or hell, and then you reincarnate. Then you do it all over again.
yeah. Then it just goes dark. It's just over. It's just the end of the movie.
I would hate that to be. Real.
Yeah, that'd be pretty depressing.
I try my best not to think about that.
Yeah. I guess the what has gotten me over that concept is the idea that time is not so linear. You know, like that. You know, the life that you live still exists after you live it. Like you could go back to it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But even that is kind of a fairy tale as far as like we even science will say that like time travel is possible, but we don't really see it. We don't see any actual proof that it's possible or anything in our experience. I don't know. But there is the thing that I've kind of always found to be interesting is the way that your spirit, your humanity continues through your experiences and the memories that other people have of you. And that's like doesn't seem much when you're just like an individual, but if you think about people like Achilles or Alexander the Great and stuff, and how their memory is still being talked about every day, it's kind of one of the reasons why either warriors or artists like focus on their experiences is for some sort of level of immortality.
It's like if you're remembered during world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's more of a semantic argument.
Yeah. What if like I think the best afterlife would be the one from The Good Place.
Yeah.
That's like the Good Place made me like think really hard about these kind of stuff. Like it made me depressed for like a second.
It really.
It's like, I'm gonna die. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I would just like stay up at night and just be afraid of dying.
Oh, I know that.
Sometimes it's just wish I could just like get the. It's not all the time. When it happened, it's like, man, let me watch some YouTube. It's like, let me distract myself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can get stuck on that idea your whole life. It's the fact that death is around the corner. You basically can not enjoy your life because you're too afraid of dying.
I would hate that. I'm gonna try my best to enjoy it.
Yeah, we can stop talking.
Let's change the subject. Oh yeah, have you heard about the Call of Duty?
No, what's up with that one?
So a streamer. There's I don't know what state it is, but there's a big protest from like the right wing people against a school district trying to recognize Pride Month as a holiday,
Okay.
and so like a bunch of like weirdos pulls up like a bunch of weirdos arrive to like protest the thing, and and an esport person was like living near the place. So he posted, I think it was like, oh, that's weird protesters. Like, can you just like this, like it's talking about the protesting. And a really big streamer came out and was like, yeah, these LGBT people should leave the kids alone. And so called Activision just pulls takes down his skin bundle, and a lot of people got angry over that.
Interesting. So basically, because he was saying something kind of anti-LGBTQ, they were like,
But yeah,
fuck you.
they don't want to they don't want to associate.
Totally.
And the scary part is just like the vocal people or most. I don't want to say most because sometimes vocal minorities thing,
Yeah.
but like the very vocal people of like the community just agrees with him. They just like a lot of
You probably got a lot of people agreeing, yeah. I mean, the whole like leave our kids alone thing is such ridiculous nonsense because it's like, wait, what? Like, you mean the way that Christianity leaves our kids alone? Like, what are you talking about?
weirdos. Such weirdos. Like that, and then so it's a weird hill to die on, and he tried to die on the hill. He's like his friend who also had a bundle requests Activision to pull it down too as a solidarity.
Jesus Christ.
And like
That whole martyrship, it's like you guys you're basically torturing yourself because you want to look like a martyr. It's like nobody's actually uh, stopping your freedoms.
it's like it's like proven to that the idea that he had is that like to leave the kids alone. He was like he 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 fell into like the right wing talking point of like, oh, the trans people are to
Yeah, like
indoctrinate.
indoctrinate and then they're pedophiles, which
Yeah.
never made any sense to me because I've never met a trans person. I've never,
It's the right wingers.
Yeah, it's always the white ones, yeah, that are actually like Matt Gates. Like you guys aren't mad at him. He's the one that keeps on trafficking underage prostitutes.
Insane. There's just a funny one dude who was like who made like a big stink about deleting the Call of Duty game off of his Steam profile.
Yeah.
And I was like, only way that Activision's gonna get me to play Call of Duty again is to publicly apologize to the streamer who started it. His name is Nick Merck. To publicly apologize to Nick Merck and reinstate his bundle. And a bunch of people did like uninstalled it too. Like, but funnily enough, the guy name is Dr. Disrespect. And a year ago, he came out on his own and admit that he cheated on his wife.
Yeah.
And people were just like dunking on him, saying like, "You're more loyal to your homophobic friend than you're to your wife."
Yeah. That's it.
Like it's a weird hill to die on. And he came out and explains that I don't I have a bunch of
Yeah, usually they're like, I'm not against that. It's just they won't leave the kids alone. It's like, wait,
just
who's
think
not leaving
kids
the
should
kids
find
alone?
out about this kind of stuff on their own or when they are of age. Or like I should be the one who teaches them.
Yeah. I will tell them.
Yeah. It's a weird hill to die on.
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear about that. That's very interesting. Like the Bud Light issue kind of thing. It's the same. It's like none of this was an issue before they decided that trans was a talking point. Like trans has been around for a while, and it just became a talking point to the right wing lately because they didn't have any other policies to talk about.
Exhausting for them. Like as an outsider too. Technically, I'm not like
Sure, yeah, of course, yeah.
they're like, man, you guys are dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn it, man. You are so dumb.
When they say like it's fascism, and I'm like, wait, you're saying being against the exclusion of a particular group is fascism? I'm kind of feeling like it's the opposite there.
Like regrettably, I used to be an Elon Musk fan.
Oh yeah,
Well,
he was cool. Like
before he went insane, like everything like before Cybertruck, I was like,
yeah.
Elon was cool. Yeah.
I mean, I still like SpaceX and all this stuff. I like it, but I think he's an idiot now. It's just, but I've come to the terms that every CEO is an idiot. They're just a figurehead. It's like, we never really had like a president that's smart. We never had a CEO that like was like really knew what was up with the world. It's like usually they're just figureheads. It's like they're basically somebody to take all of the blame. I'm still into SpaceX just because I want to see people Mars. Like I don't think it's a good idea. I wouldn't do it myself, but I'd love to watch the TV show.
Yeah, let's watch someone try.
Yeah,
I think like space exploration is really cool.
Yeah, and it's something that like, hey, if we don't do it, we're all going to die in a billion years anyway. So we might as well try. I feel like if we set AI to that, that's where we can really use AI.
It's like, hey, can you figure out how to get it? Can you figure out warp speed?
Exactly. I mean, give it enough resources, it probably can. Like that's the one thing I've seen with technology that limits technology is people's passion for it. Like whether it's health or like electric vehicle or anything, you only achieve what people put the money into. And if you had a system that satisfied certain goals without the need for the human attention span and everything, there's a lot of things we could fix using AI. Like artists having jobs. On a new window. Person can have side view.
Oh, I don't know if you want to talk about this one.
Sure, yeah.
So do you use have you seen like a cooking TikToks or something like that?
Oh yeah.
Have you seen like that one guy who's super ripped? Yes, I think he's Asian. So
Yeah,
he's like super muscular, and he wears like super tight shirt when he make pastry.
Okay.
And it's so he got super popular on that because oh my god, he's hot and he can bake.
Yeah.
But then there's like a guy who tried to clone him, and it's super disgusting. Like he's like he's like a above average attractive person.
Sure.
He's like a well built dude, but like when he made it's so bad. Like, oh god, thinking about it, it's like he made like donut dough, and then suddenly he just like lunged his face into the dough. Like, and then he was like spanked the dough, and then like use his crotch to like push the dough up. It's like, what are you doing? What are you thinking?
Yeah, there's a whole element. I think it started with like Chinese TikTok of like just being as weird as fuck. Like I remember that is like there was a woman that would just like drink as much Coke and eat as much food all at once, and it was just like making a mess. And it's like, oh, that's entertainment now.
And I don't think he even know how to make donuts because he made like the like a normal round like ring donut, but then he pours like a tiny bit out and then try to put cream in. Try to
Put cream in a ring donut.
Yeah, and it's just like a one like pocket, like tiny pocket with like cream in it. Oh, that's oh no, that's kind of romantic. My mother just sent me like a Facebook screenshot of like a post about a really old teacher from my high school passing away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's fine. I'm not close to her, but she's 100.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I don't know her much, but I know so many other older teachers. My school have a bunch of like 60+ teachers. And we were just like, man, it's like they would.
Who's next?
I don't want to say about who's next.
Was it 30 Rock? But Tracy Morgan would call up Betty White whenever like two people died because they didn't want to be the third celebrity that dies that day.
Oh my god.
She finally died, but she was in a lot of sitcoms. She was in Community as well. She was a teacher in Community. She was originally on Golden Girls, which was a sitcom about old women. I don't know how that got past the producers, but it was a pretty big deal in the 80s. I'm sorry to hear that.
It's okay. I don't know, but that's a teeny bit sad.
Well, I think it's more, feel sad when people to go. It was last year I was teaching a class and I got a text that a friend of the family had died, and I was like, I'm in the middle of teaching. I'm like, I don't want to have to fucking deal with this. I try to keep not, look at my phone when I'm teaching, but just like, you see the text message show up and Jesus, I don't want to deal with it while I'm teaching and stuff. It is good to, like, I think morning is something that, we talked about this, your culture had a lot more energy and time into morning, whereas Americans like, all right, you can go home today, but come back tomorrow.
What were you talking about? Oh yeah, sexy donut.
Sexy donut.
I think I can find it. Found it. You're gonna love it.
Smack. No, don't snip it. He puts a little dent in the side.
It's so weird. It's
So
so
gross.
so gross.
It's cringy for sure. The butt and eggs.
Oh. Why is he shirtless?
You make a donut.
It's like
You put it in the middle.
it's just like unattractive even.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
weird.
cringy.
It's cringy.
Donut actually is pretty hilarious. Yeah. That reminds me of the there's some sculptors that do that, where they're like doing a pot in ceramics with their shirts off, and they're just like, it's just a little too sexy. It's kind of comical.
It's weird. It's just like you're such a weirdo. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know.
I think that donut got pregnant.
But I asked if you have a lightning cable.
What? No. Wait, is that for what is a lightning cable?
It's
Light.
it's like a phone.
Oh no, I don't. Shit. Sorry, dude. Yeah. I've got one in my car. I could run and grab it. That's fine. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I know the feeling. So.
I gotta walk home.
Yeah.
I gotta.
My phone's dead. I can't.
I've been having internet problems like the last 5 days. I was
Sure.
like, I need to listen to music while I walk.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Thank you. So much.
Yeah. Yeah, just get back in, yeah. The way.
I wrote down on my way home now.
You know, I had some issues where like, I don't know when the bus is coming. I don't, you know, it's like when I don't have my phone, it can be really annoying.
You seen the Grimace shake?
Grimace?
Yeah, the McDonald's Grimace shake. The new
Is it new?
new item right now.
You know, Grimace was always supposed to be a chocolate milkshake, but they made him purple because when he was chocolate, he looked like a big poop.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Because the funny thing is like people are buying it a lot, but for a joke.
Yeah.
Have you seen the videos?
No, no. No, I haven't heard anything about this. Yeah, we need that cord so you can show me funny videos.
Yes, we're gonna give it a try. Seems like it's good.
Everybody just like,
It's dying.
it's like a horror movie
Yeah.
situation. There's a bunch of them.
So many.
It's amazing.
All the kids are doing it.
Hey, it's better than the Tide Pod challenge.
It's like actually funny, like a funny
That's pretty
trend.
good.
And there's a jump scare. Well, it was scary for me. Like a lady was like, oh, it's like I got the Grimace shake. Happy birthday, Grimace! And then it cuts to like her open like her mouth super wide.
Yeah, oh, like the brain.
it's a jump scare. There's so many. There's like one where a guy just hung himself off a bridge. Yeah, so it's like tied his hands, just like swinging
Oh my
and then
God.
choking out the Grimace shake.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a chocolate milkshake, but he looked like a poop, so they made him purple.
The only person, the only people I know is the Hamburglar.
Yeah. That's fun.
Just Ronald and the Hamburglar.
Yeah, there's a few others, but those are the most widely used ones. Hamburger.
I saw that's a different story, but the YouTube creator got caught grooming children again.
Oh yeah.
And in her apology video, she sang a song about how sorry she is with an ukulele. She's a ukulele. She just pulls out the ukulele and just starts singing a song.
Wait, so she was grooming children? What,
She was grooming.
what does that even mean? As far as, you know, like,
Actually just like if they're like actually like talking to kids and like trying to like get them to do stuff.
oh, okay.
Like she's like, yeah, I'm so sorry. Here's a song.
Like a kid's song.
There's that like I think 2-3 years ago, a lady was well it was an underage person was exposed for like assaulting another underage person.
Okay.
As they were couples.
Sure.
And, like the guy wasn't into it and he like assaults him either way. So when like everything goes down, she made an interpretive dance video as an apology.
Yeah, people getting creative with their apologies.
It was just her in like a in like an I think it was like a warehouse in like just that interpretive dancing to like this song, but I don't remember what the song is, but the lyric is just like, I'm sorry, I'm young. I'm sorry, I'm young. It's not my fault. It's depressing, but like man, it's so
It's kind
entertaining.
of hilarious. It's interesting what these young kids are up to. Interpretive dance apology videos being canceled. That's hilarious.
Like I follow like a bunch of all of the left wing YouTuber who just covers these kind of stuff and just laugh at people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've been paying attention to what I'm doing. I'm just I'm in ZBrush, and I took my high-res model that I've cleaned up, and now I'm just like tuning it up, like cleaning up all the edges and everything in ZBrush, which it's not the best way of working because you can get a lot done just out of the Maya model, but it gives you a lot of freedom. That's what I like about ZBrush is like if I want to change a line and I don't have it in the actual model, it's pretty easy to change it. You can scoot it around and stuff. But what I do have is a really clean model that will give me everything I need. And then eventually, once I'm happy with this, I'm going to delete the lower, and I'm going to do this thing with a few like panel lines where we can create a different poly group here. Like it's a different color. And when you do that, you can use the geometry tab to create panel lines around the different polygroups. So I can do like, let's see, where's modified topology? No. It's if I do group loops with 2 loops, it'll smooth out this area, and then it creates a takes a minute because there's a lot of polygons here, but then it creates a panel line around it, and you can like extrude that or isolate that. Let's see. Got a lot of polys here, so it's going to take its time. But this is one of my favorite tricks that ZBrush has. Is it's like how a lot of the StarCraft stuff was made by, if you just create these different polygroups, you can create panel lines in between polygroups. And it's like a really quick way of
Some green.
yeah, exactly. And you see it in all kinds of new models these days as like a design element, but I'm like, oh, that's just how ZBrush works. It's really good at creating panel lines around things. So they'll do these like really unique organic shapes, and it's really easy to create panel lines around it because of this tool, the group loops tool. Let's take a little bit longer on these computers. And last week I showed the projection system, right? That was, I think you already knew how to do that, but that one I found to be one of the most useful things that ZBrush has, because if you don't have the right polyflow, you can just project it onto a better polyflow. It's really worked with this computer much, but it does seem to be rather slow. never know with ZBrush. It could just be like crashed or it's processing.
One time, but like the final semester of the junior year, I ran out of the cache space on the computer, so I would like work and then sit back while it load,
Yeah.
and then work and then sit back while it load.
So you can see it created the panel line right here, and you can isolate it. And then what sometimes I'll do is do a deformation, like inflate in or push it in a little bit. These deformations are all really useful because it's programmatic across the whole thing. But now if I unisolate it, you can see that that panel line is nicely cut. So it's just a way you can make these panel lines over weird organic shapes. And this isn't exactly what I wanted to do. I was probably going to do something more along the lines of like, more unique shape here. But this is a way we can kind of really quickly create organic panel lines that would be a total pain in the ass to model in Maya.
Yeah, looking at one of the models, I already found there's a few plays to use this trick on.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, totally. And I was thinking about that this would be useful for your gun once we got past the proxy stage. Because it's like you can do whatever you want as a shape, and then it's isolated now, and so it's going to be really easy to extrude it or add even more detail to it. But I'm going to go back. I'm still not totally ready to get to this level, because what I like to do before I say a model is finished is clean up all of this kind of wobbly area. I find that to be really important in hard surface modeling, where if I leave that, it'll be very obvious in the reflections that there's a bunch of wobbly areas. And so some of the ways that we can clean it up, if you have your lower subdivisions, if I go back a few more dues, should get to a place where my lower subdivisions are not. There we are. So like I use Shift D to go down and D to go up in the divisions. And it makes it so if I wanted to smooth out an area, I can go down in some subdivisions and it's a little easier to smooth. You can see the poly line isn't flowing exactly with this new line that I created. But what I can do to get it a little cleaner, if I have the geometry, is use the pinch brush. Pinch brush is just really good at kind of smoothing out a line, because it basically is redefining the line. And you can go over it many times with the pinch brush. Just want to keep it small enough so that it doesn't grab anything around it. But it does a good job of tightening an edge. If an edge is too wobbly, I'll use the pinch brush to kind of tighten it up. Great, because even if there's not enough geometry there, it pulls the geometry towards the spot where I need it. Like an edge like this kind of corner, I can use the pinch brush, but it's not quite cornery enough. So sometimes I'll use the dam standard, which is, it's like, it cuts, but I'm holding down Alt, so it's pushing out. So it's like to push out the corners. The dam standard helps a lot. So now you can see this whole edge is just a little cleaner. It's still a little wobbly, but it's cleaner than it was. Use some smooth brush to kind of go over it again. And then I can go over it once more with pinch, because I noticed that seems to help as this iteration of like smoothing it and then pinching it. And you get that nice kind of Overwatch style crispness with everything, where everything feels super smooth, which is really big in CG right now. And I feel like the reason why everybody likes that is because CG is like naturally makes things smooth, and instead of trying to fight it. It's like
just go with that because it's really hard to achieve in any other medium. Anyway, I just wanted to show the those things because I'm gonna hit it pretty hard as soon as I clean this stuff up. And I just wanted to kind of show how I'm gonna approach the extra little tiny details. So I've got all the lines worked out, and this is pretty close to what I want. But I just want to clean up some of these edges that are a little wobbly. And so I'll use paintbrush sometimes, but other times I'll just use the move brush. You see this like little zigzag here. I'll just move it so it's not zigzagging quite as much. And if you're careful, it works out pretty well. But as you can see, it's a challenge, and it's one of the reasons why it's nice to have the Maya model as clean as it is, so you don't have to spend all this time doing sculpting cleanup. But yeah, I just want to show that. We can get back to again. But if you got the proxy, I'd love to see it just so we can talk about the proportions.
Yeah, it's got it pretty close to what I like it to be.
Oh, let's take a look.
Can't figure out the front of the
Part of the good.
Yeah, interesting. That seems about right. Interesting how the bottom half is empty, but I guess that's how that works. Yeah, because it slides down the barrel. See from the side, just yeah, portions. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, so like that flow stuff I was kind of mentioning last week, you could do it in ZBrush. At this proxy stage, we don't usually put that in, but the way that it could be done in Maya would be the multi-cut, like drawing that in as multi-cut, and then you've got an edge, and you pull things back that way. And it's nice to do that sometimes before you go into ZBrush, so you have a nice clean edge. Otherwise, you can use the pinch brush, like I was showing, where you do the like a dam standard or trim dynamic, cutting into those areas.
get into because this piece of it, this piece is a bit awkward.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like the middle would just float into the middle.
Yeah.
And pitch here and then like flow through the middle. And so that would make sense when you want to take apart the gun like completely. You just like
Yeah.
just two
Slides. Yeah. Okay. This cut is going to change how this functions as far as that.
pretty deep.
Yeah, so it might change how the bottom of the gun feels. Maybe it tapers a little bit in. And then,
They got up, get it out. Racing for it because usually when like artists design guns, we just don't look at them.
no, yeah. And concept artists aren't really thinking about things three-dimensionally.
Make the whole thing thick enough to
Totally, it feels like
not look
the right proportions. That feels great.
base it off the glove.
Yeah. Can you select the model? I just want to see the polyflow. Okay, cool.
There's some triangles. But
I know you're traumatized about that. It's like,
Oh man,
is that a main gun? Is that a separate piece? I can't tell.
it's a
Yeah, no problem. As far as the proxy goes, we're good. We're like signed up on the proxy. I just wanted to see it before. So nice to get on it. Cool. And then I was thinking about how easy it would be to make these shapes if this was cut with a multi-cut versus ZBrush. Because ZBrush, you're gonna have to like you have to like make a mask or do something really clear. So there might be some issues with doing that edge and stuff in ZBrush. Like this little edge would be easy, but
how,
Leaving the straight here and then curve.
yeah, exactly, because of how much it affects the geometry, the overall form, and how clean it's supposed to look. I might end up doing that in Maya. Just give you less issues to bring in. And I'm trying to think of like what is really worthwhile to do in ZBrush, because most of this can be done in Maya. It's if you're having trouble finding these edges, I would do them in ZBrush and then bring it in as like a snapping layer. But you're probably going to want eventually, especially with the LED 0, you're going to want it to be doing those lines in Maya so that you can have the edges line up with the high res to low res. So one way or the other, you got to do them in Maya at some point. But I could imagine if you cut it in,
Cut it here, and it would just work.
and then you could just shrink the part, and it would just create a really flat edge. It might not have the curve that you want, but at least it would be a good start of the overall shapes. And it's something that you understand,
Right,
you know how to do it.
Go into like make the curves out in ZBrush just to get
Yeah, a little more. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I think that's the way that I would handle it, just because some of these are a little too annoying to draw out. So if you could kind of rough them out in ZBrush, that if it ends up looking great, that's awesome. If you're having trouble getting it to be crisp, then you just take it back and outline it with the multi-cut. Cool, looking great. Thanks for showing. I just want to check in before you guys report.
I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, no, and you're good.
Because the project is like fully finished, and the owner of the thing is have already like commissioned another one.
Nice.
I think this time we're getting paid.
Good.
This time we're getting paid.
Well, it sounds like they liked it then.
It's like another person commissioned too is like a female VTuber.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
What kind of characters are they?
it's like a lion lady. It's just like a lady with like lion motif, like suits and like a more gangster.
Gangster line?
I think it's the artist that the person who created the model was our artist too. Like so she does everything. She's a really good programmer, and then she also like do a lot of art,
Yeah.
and then she do rigging and like a live 2D rigging too. So she just like made a bunch of rigs and sell it out.
Nice.
It's super talented, super skilled.
Cool. Yeah, I've just been doing this one project, but I do want to bring in some character stuff because I think it's useful for animators to know this stuff, like how to set a good edge flow for a body. That is something that I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out the perfect edge flow for bodies and everything. And it's useful for animators to know because a lot of my information actually came from talking to animators and having them be like, this is what works and this is what doesn't work. Because you'll rig something and you'll be like, it's not working because like one edge is just buckling in a weird way. I know it's like not necessarily your job to be setting it up, but I do find that it's helpful for the animators to be able to communicate to the modelers what is needed.
That's not software.
What's the problem?
The dimension of the okay, it's not working.
You gotta talk. Can't talk and Maya at the same time.
Yeah, I thought I matched the dimension for the with the handle and the slide correctly, but I just
Something.
suddenly just found out, just saw that it's like not that was wrong. Saw that I was wrong. Maybe I can. Yeah, I'll just make it thicker. And it's pain. That's okay. I don't know what happened. It was just, I guess I like accidentally squeezed it. I guess I went to one. What?
It's whenever something happens, you're not really sure how it happens. That's the annoying thing. There's so many ways things can go wrong.
Old trick back up and then reopen a file that I forgot to save. Okay, yeah, okay, nothing's wrong. I'm just done. Wait, no. Dang it. Okay, I accidentally pressed save.
Oops.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna try to like eye it.
What is a proportion issue? That's what the problem is.
It's like the slide is like thicker, just a tiny bit thicker.
You can fix that.
Yeah, the body is just not thick enough.
That's what she says.
Oh, oh. 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 Okay, yeah, something's not right. The whole thing got wonky. The whole handle got wonky. Um, oh. rest is subverted.
Excellent.
It felt like there's like a, like I turn like symmetry on and off very often, so sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, that's why I like only depending on my own symmetry tool. Like, I'll use symmetry, I'll turn it on, but it's like I need to double check it. I can never be convinced that symmetry is the right way to do it. Sometimes you'll turn it off just to resize something.
Just messed up the whole thing.
Yep.
And I can fix it by splitting it. It became special, so now it's even again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about like Kamen Riders, like Mask Rider.
Yeah, what's that? What did?
There's you know Power Rangers?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Power Rangers originally Japanese.
Totally. I've kind of followed the history of that show just because it was fascinating. Like they just replaced the footage from the Japanese show, or with American people, and used the action footage.
It's
Pretty funny.
it's like, but it's funny and cool at the same time. I was like super into it for a while.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
I've always just watched the Thailand doesn't have access to like the Power Rangers version, so we watched the originals.
Yeah, the Japanese one.
Just the Japanese ones, and so Toei, the owner of the franchise, have like two more franchises. Ultraman,
Ultraman. That's an old school one. Yeah, Ultraman was awesome.
they're still going on.
Well, it's like it's like an old IP from like a long time ago. It's pretty rad because it's like the footage. I remember seeing some really old footage like Ultraman and Godzilla and everything. Like, it's good stuff. I love those costumes.
I just like learned recently because like the Ultraman have like a time where they were just unable to do anything because of a Thai company. I never knew that before.
Interesting.
Like, so the Thai company kind of did like an asshole thing. They technically only have rights of distribution, but they like conveniently misunderstood it and just used the right to just make a bunch of Ultraman stuff on their own.
Yeah.
And they're just like, so they're just like a way, the fan just made a way to like spot the fake ones. So, it's the fake ones, the eyes are orange.
Oh, I see.
And while I was watching the video of like the fan explaining it, I was like, wait, I don't always remember their eyes being orange.
Watching the fake
So I
one.
was always watching the fake one, and that just hurts. So it's like, man, I feel horrible.
Yeah, you feel you. Who's used?
Yeah, it was like it was a super cool one where the Ultraman team up with Human. He's like is what do you call it? It's a character from like an old ancient epic. He's like a super cool. I think he's yeah, it's Wukong is based on him because they have like a really similar sets of powers.
Okay.
I guess like you could grow and you can do stuff like that. There's like a movie of him teaming up with Ultraman. Now it was super old. It was before I was born, but when I was growing up watching the old one, I was like, that was so cool.
Yeah.
But it turns out it was fake.
Or you mean
It was not legal.
it was not legal? Yeah. And it still was a thing. Who owns the gate? Who gets to choose what happens? I always loved the Godzilla miniatures. It just sounded like so fun to be in the suit, walking around destroying things.
It's like Have you ever watched like a back behind the scenes?
Yes, love that stuff.
There's usually there's a suit actors or guys.
Yeah.
There's like there's one lady who was a suit actor,
Nice.
and when the when the character needs to roar, and she would roar for real, and it's like the cutest thing ever. She's like,
Totally.
it's the like Mask Rider and it's Ultraman is another franchise from them, and both Ultraman and Mask Rider and Super Sentai are still going. And the latest one, it's the Mask Rider is about battle royales.
Oh, wow.
So the Kamen Riders just like fight each other to like get that wish granted.
Okay, yeah.
Like, it's coming to an end now. It's always 50 episodes. So it's I think it's on episode 42 right now. So it's pretty close to ending. But so it was pretty close to ending, but I think like they were just trying to get like a few last punch in, and he killed off a guy's sister. Killed off one of the main guy's sister, and turns him evil. He's just evil now.
No, because his sister died.
Yeah, his sister died. And he started beating other main character up with his Super Set like Power Rangers, they have like the morphers.
Yeah.
Kamen Rider have belts, like a transforming belt. And like throughout the year, they just added more and more gimmicks. The gimmicks for this one is a buckle. So the belt is bare, and you can use a different buckle to give yourself like different armor.
Yeah.
And the guy got like a new armor himself. It's called a Bujin sword.
Nice.
And that's like a samurai, like a samurai shogun style
Sure.
armor. And the funniest thing is that when he transformed, the graphic for transformation when like a super like digital stuff
Yeah.
comes up to change him, the font for like the for the transformation of like Bushin sword, it's makes the J and the I looks really similar
Sure.
to a T.
Okay.
So everybody just like butt and sword.
Butt and sword. That's funny.
I think the biggest problem with Kamen Rider right now is that the owner not refuse, but like they kind of don't do anything to try to distribute it out of America, out of Japan.
Mhm.
They're just like, I think the only thing they did distribute out of Japan is like the Kamen Rider movie that like came out for like a day. But other than that, like if I wanted to watch the new series, I have to watch it illegally.
Yeah. The smart move, making your main character have a helmet, or your characters have helmets and stuff. This makes it really easy. You can replace the actors. You film it in different places.
Like a big thing when it's like a big event when the actor themselves have to do the stunts.
Yeah.
So we would we just had like that last episode, like that actor all like out of suit just started fighting for it.
Nice. Big deal.
The suit actors are like big deals too.
Sure, yeah, totally. I've noticed that they've become rather famous. Like, what's really sad is the guy who played Jar Jar Binks.
Oh yeah.
He was like a really respected suit actor before that, and now he's like really depressed.
I think he's gotten better now. Right?
His mental health maybe has gotten better. What's happened lately is like everybody's kind of they're forgiving Hayden Christensen and Jar Jar Binks and everything. They're like, no, we like you now. It's fine.
It's people are relentless sometimes.
I feel the worst for the kid who played.
Oh yeah, because he's like worse.
He-
His fate is the worst.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of people.
Everybody hated that kid. And then when he grew up, he didn't look different. You know, people look like adults. He just looks like that kid. Cool. But with like a big head. So he's still getting recognized. Oh, for child actors.
He's like almost like became a drug addict.
Did he? I would imagine. Yeah.
There's like a picture of his his arrest like floating around,
Shit.
like his mugshot. Sorry, his mugshot.
Yeah, yeah, his
floating
mugshot.
around.
Great. But then the guy who played the Predator, he's a very famous suit actor. I think he was might have been the same guy that's doing the Mandalorian.
Nice.
I might be wrong about that. Seems like much of a time difference.
It's like something about Pedro Pascal coming out saying like, yeah, I wasn't in the suit most of the
Yeah, he's not. He's just doing the voice. That's why I was saying like having a mask is a great way to have him use a main character because you get away with so much. He's like playing the role in his underwear.
It's like Robert Downey Jr. shooting any Avengers.
Yeah, exactly. It's all CG.
Having like layers of cuts everywhere, so paint in there.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried to look through, use like X-ray to look.
Sure.
Through the thing, and when it's X-ray and
Then you see more. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the management of the details is a very challenging thing. That's why I always say big to small, and then big part of it is just being
conscious of what you're doing, which is really challenging. You know, like paying very close attention to every line. And you have to do it more than the concept artist does. Concept artists like just kind of make some marks, and if people are happy with it, then it's on. But you've got to see where those marks go and how they interact with the other side. And I think that's like one of the most challenging things with video games, even over movies, is that everything has to be seen from every angle. So you end up with modelers that are a lot more used to like fully functional models than in the movie industry. Everybody's favorite thing to do when they can see something in a video game is look for any holes or issues or problems. Like, you know, you don't even realize you're doing it, but when you like you look at or you're in a game and you're looking at an object that looks cool, you want to look at it from every angle. There's so many old games that you'll find where you can see like holes in the model or something broken. And, like, oh, they you know, like that was acceptable, but at the same time, it wasn't really. It just they never got around to fixing it. I find the thing that seems to happen is every year the standard goes up. It's like people expect less mistakes, more polish and everything because competition goes in that direction.
People, it's like, oh, you guys, why can't people just be nice?
Oh yeah, I
They gotta be the meanest possible.
Yeah, some of it is, you know, as an artist, you want to kind of prove to everybody else that you are have value, but a lot of people online are just being dicks.
Yeah.
It seems to be the case in business that you've got to prove that you know what you're doing, and you know, like saying something isn't working or saying something is broken is kind of one way people get respect. And so you have people that will never accept that something is good unless they did it themselves. So they'll always find a way to call it out. And it's just a culture that is created because of that. And that's like a big thing that I end up feeling like I'm responsible for as a teacher is like preparing students for the amount of criticism that they will get. Because it's like, you know, we haven't talked about that much this class, but there's always something to say. Because you can, you know, like you can go through everything, fix all the problems, but there's still some things that are more opinions than problems. And some people have this opinion, some people have that opinion. But it's your job to get rid of as much of that as possible. And it can be pretty nerve-wracking.
One asshole dude got banned by his French.
Yeah.
It's like when he complained about stuff, he doesn't like here. I think this is how it should be done. He just like it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Yeah, and that's like the biggest cop out. I hate it with that because it's not constructive. It's like, and it's totally opinion based because everybody's got different ideas of what bad is. Like Michael Jackson thought bad was good. Almost there, just like that perfectionist attitude makes me I'm really aware of because I had some pretty insane managers that would always like come down on any minor issue because that's, you know, it's
the culture that I was talking about. And you get used to that expectation that somebody will look at any minor issue. And so you try to iron everything out. Which is nerve-wracking, but it takes a certain amount of time, but it can be done. I think that was the thing that I didn't realize when I was like just starting out, is that you can make stuff that's perfect. It's not this like out of touch ideal or something. It's like,
No, it's, you just got to spend the time on it. And most standard artists do not. They just will do it so it's good enough and then move on. Like if you can get a decent grade, then that's all they're caring about. But the like when you have an art director, you're not really allowed to just move on. They won't let you finish until you're done. So you have to like either figure out how to make it perfect or just continue getting critiqued once a day.
but it trains you to, really look at everything.
I've noticed that you are pretty good with the diligence of details. I think your Thai instructor kind of taught you to be aware of all that, which I respect. That's great. It's like it's awesome. I just encourage having some thoughts for yourself too. So.
It's just one guy.
Yeah.
It's like one. I think it was Puerto Rican.
Oh, interesting.
He's super helpful. He's always like energetic. He's always ready to help.
Nice.
I think I got yelled at once. Well, no, not yelled at. I got.
Talkative.
It's something bad. Because like it's just I'm not gonna excuse it because of like because it's a culture.
Sure.
But, like we would like endear like a funny like make fun of endear him by like doing his accent.
Sure.
It's like it's technically racist.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like I was talking about him. It's like I was kind of miss him, so I was just gonna do it again, his accent, and I got called out. It's like, dude, that's fucked up. It's like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I had to stop doing accents. Growing up in the era of Apu and Simpsons,
Oh, it's so funny, though.
it's so funny.
So accents are so funny.
They are funny.
It's such an easy thing to like make fun of.
Yeah, I know. And it's like to me, it's like I've got nothing against accents. I love accents. Like my girlfriend has a lovely accent from Argentina. And it's like I think accents are great, but if I do them, it sounds bad. Another way that you can kind of figure out if you're getting too much wobble in your model is looking head down it. Your gun's not very long, so it doesn't matter that much. But if you look like head down the rifle barrel, you'll see any movement up and down in the polygons, and that's where you get to kind of pay attention to when things are a little wobbly. Because it's easy, you're like compressing it. It's the easiest way to see if there's any up and down. Like on mine right here, I can just see there's a little wobble in this back thing. I just want to clean up. Yeah, I found modeling to be almost relaxing, like in that it's just, go through, clean it up, fix this, fix that. Like concepting is definitely takes a lot more energy because you have to like make decisions, but there's almost like
freedom to knowing that like, okay, this is wrong and this is right. Just makes things feel a little easier, but especially when you're doing like the LED zero, you're just worried about like taking a high res, and turning it into a low res. Because you've already got the high res done. That's pretty. Found something else.
Yeah, it's just like that they kind of lined up like a really nice,
Nice.
really nice curve. And I wait. Okay. Here. Okay. Just move it a tiny bit. Okay, that works.
Yeah, one of the things I found really annoying about doing something that's like industrial design, like a gun, trying to bring it into Maya is how the edge flow never lines up with the design. It's like, and you can add more, you know, like edge flow to get it to line up a little better. But the problem is that there's just, you know, ways that curves work in artistic situations that don't work in polygonal situations.
Can't talk a bit too much. I can't. Right, bro. So.
Sure, yeah, yeah. So something I also like to do, just for materials down the road, is to paint, make them like a painted mask of like what is glass and what is metal and stuff. And just using the standard brush to turn off the add, that is the sculpting side. You can turn on the RGB, and then make a bright color for the like a different whatever it is you want to be separate. So like I'm going to make this glass. Maybe I'll do blue because it makes more sense as glass. I'll turn the color off when I'm just looking at it, but for materials, it's nice to have this color mask in there, because then you can down the road use it in Substance Painter and mask out what is going to be glass and what's going to be metal. And the reason why it's really nice to do it this way rather than try to paint it in Substance Painter is because this is, I'm matching it to the high-res model, which just, if I do that, then the normals and the mask will match up. Because the low res might be a little different from the high res. And then it can be a little trickier to paint on the low res to try to match the normals of the high res. But you can use poly painting like for full on painting of a like the texture of an object. But generally, I only use it for more organic stuff because Substance Painter is so good at painting surface details that I usually just go with Substance Painter's materials. Make sure this glass is separated. Tricky in some spots. Another thing I might do is change the focal shift so that it's not fuzzy. If it's the focal shift is down more, then it becomes more like a paint pen rather than an airbrush pen. I will use the painting in ZBrush for faces. I feel like it works really well because, just like I said before, the high res matches the low res. So what you can do is things like pores and beard hair and eyebrows and stuff. You can paint it on and have the details match the paint, and that works really well when you use alphas. Like you can really quickly. That's something I do want to do maybe next class. I will show some human painting stuff in ZBrush and some human models. But what's cool about the brushes in ZBrush is you can match the color brush and the sculpted brush so that, like in this case, you can have scales be a specific color and it all matches together. And that's something that's really hard to paint in Substance Painter because you only get this one shot to match them. And I'll use drag rectangle to kind of drag out details. This all works out pretty well. Obviously, I don't want this ship to have scales, but it's a really fun way to paint scales if you are using, or if you're making a dinosaur or something, use these kind of the alpha brush with drag rectangle and turning on the RGB channel and the add channel to get hyper details. Still just making a mask. I think maybe next week I'll kind of go over some human modeling stuff. These character modeling stuff. I don't know, is there anything in particular that you're not quite sure how to approach and missing? I'd love to hear about it.
I think right now I haven't hit any big snag yet, but it's just the digital dial that I talked to you about last week. I think that's what the display, the digital display.
digital display. Oh, yeah. And that, that would be the emissive. So in the materials, if you apply, if it's an Arnold, if you're using Maya, you can apply the AI standard material, AI standard surface, and emission is the dial or the glowing stuff. And if you apply a map, a color map to that, it'll do exactly what you're talking about. I can do that real quick before class ends today, because that is going to be fun. I'll do it again a couple of weeks because I'll put some digital displays on this thing as well. But it's really simple if you can bring up Photoshop.
Whoa. Oh, something really wrong. Low weird edges. And it's like inside. Just... Oh God.
No.
Something's. I think I cleaned up some part really wrong. Oh, okay, now next week. Press it for.
So in Photoshop, you get this trick where you can add some glow to the outside by going, if you double click on a layer, you can go into your layer style, and there's outer glow is an option here. And what you do is if you match the color, it'll give the kind of impression of it kind of glowing a little bit, which is nice because even though, like you're glowing in Maya, you don't get the bloom effect that shows up. That if you'd actually have a camera, this kind of bloom effect. And you do that on the text as well, which I'll do. A little extra kind of glow. And because it's all black and just with red, the only thing that's going to show up is the red here. So just save this off as a JPEG. Yeah, where it always gets hung up. So we could create like
sometimes those digital elements are just on like a kind of a floating piece of acrylic or something, piece of glass. So I'll assign a new material that is a AI standard surface, and we can keep it shiny, but I'll turn the transmission on so it's kind of transparent. And then we can turn the emission on, but change the color from white to the mask that I created. And got to get the UVs to line up with the texture. So best way to do that, just do a UV projection, a planar projection. And now, because it was transparent and has the emission on it, it should come through as a glowing thing in the viewport. So I'm going to turn off the glow on this one. I just need a light. So, but yeah, here, so I've got a transparency. And what happens with the transparency with transmission is it has refraction in it. So it'll give you that kind of distortion that shows up. And the cool thing about that is it's adjustable by the roughness value. So in the specular, you've got roughness, and the higher the roughness, the blurrier it is behind it, and the lower the roughness, the tighter it is. So that's where you play with the real transparency. There is also opacity under geometry, but this is just whether it's there or not. This isn't, it doesn't do anything with refraction. And I love what it does with refraction, where it kind of blurs out the anything that's in rough. But you can do, as you can see, like the thing's just floating there. But if I wanted to make this not so much a piece of glass, but like a floating hologram, then we would not use transmission. Transmission's great if you want it to be glass, but I would turn it off, and then we would use opacity. But the problem with opacity is the emission doesn't show up because any opacity just turns it on or off. So if I wanted to make sure that the emission showed up, even though it was a hologram, what we would do is, see, I'm going to graph the materials on this object, just in the hypershade graph materials on object. And then if you go into your material here, you can turn your opacity into something that also is using your color. Basically what that does is it makes it so that the opacity, it should respond where white is black, or where white is opaque and black is not. Seems like it's having a little bit of an issue, so I'm going to try something else where we plug the alpha in, but because the alpha is not, there is no actual alpha applied to this, we can go to the texture and say alpha is luminance, and then it should apply. So now it took the luminance of the alpha, and it's just floating here. You can only see where the emission is. Basically what I did was I took the texture that has, it's just red, and I said alpha is luminance and plugged it in there. It's going to kind of give me the same result as plugging in the color into opacity as well. It's about the same. But I think it seems to be a little less strong if I use the alpha luminance versus the color channel. It seems to be a little brighter. But because this was a box, it had two sides, we're getting that double image. We just delete one side.
Now this is the perfect kind of hologram display. And if the cool thing is, if you get it close to an object in Arnold, you will get that reflection. The emission weight is just set at 1, but we could crank it up to 100, and it gives you that glowing kind of lightsaber look. And this is happening because of this effect that I put on. You know, gives it that extra glow. Whereas if the effect wasn't there, it just makes that the area that is here really bright. But this gives it that bloom effect, you know, that lightsaber look. So that's really fun. You can see that to make the hologram, you had to use opacity. But if I didn't want a hologram, if I wanted it just on a piece of glass, which a lot of these digital displays are just going to be on a piece of glass or something, it's fine to use transmission, because that's going to give you that distortion factor. And then the other cool thing about transmission is it refracts. So if we're looking through a curved surface, yeah, this one's kind of getting ridiculous, but if we're looking through a curved surface, it'll distort what's behind it based off your refraction index. So, you know, a sphere is going to have a lot of refraction, but we can go into our specular and change down the IOR, the index of refraction, and keep it. This is more like air refraction rather than glass refraction. Glass is at like 1 point something. The refraction is pretty cool. And yeah, refraction and roughness values, play with those together, get some really interesting effects. Crystals and all kinds of cool stuff, or just effects volumes. But yeah, that's how you can do holographic displays or glass displays. And then when we get back to texturing, I'll go over it again. Just wanted to kind of prime it, some understanding of how to do that. Yeah, does that make sense?
Sure. Pretty cool.
It's fun. Arnold has some really cool shading effects. I've always enjoyed the transmission in Arnold is better than any other program I've used because it's using real time, or not real time, but pre-rendered transmission versus like Marmoset does real time refraction, which is not quite as high end. The other cool thing about vertex painting, if you do a vertex paint and you want to apply that to your polygroups, you can go down to polygroups and say groups from polypaint. So down here it says from polypainting, hit that and it will create groups from the polypaint data that you've created. So it's a nice thing about polypainting is you can use it for multiple reasons, whether it's just the color texture, whether it's masking, or whether it's polygrouping. Polypaint does come in handy, and it's awesome because you don't have to deal with UVs. Like there's no UVs on this object, just strictly going by the vertices. As far as that's how the color is being created. If you have a high enough resolution model, you get a lot of vertices, so you can get some really tight poly painting. Vertex paint was how we used to texture models a long time ago. Remember those like PS1 games where there was not even texture maps, it was just like blurry colors on the model. I think Mario's vertex paint too. Do it with these simple colored models. The Nintendo 64 Mario. But yeah, I'm getting pretty close here. I'm probably gonna next week I'll create the LED 0 and we can bake that down and then just do the final texturing on this thing. And then And I'm gonna bring in some other models and some other stuff to kind of demo, just to show some other techniques. So yeah, if you do think of anything like you're like, how do they do that? It's always fun to like just send me a screen grab of somebody's portfolio and be like, how do they do this? I'll tell you.
So many, there's so many.
So many.
There's a lot of stuff out there that's like, wow. It usually involves more than 2 tricks, like if you can't figure out how it's done, it's probably because there's a few different things going on at once. There's always a way. The coolest thing about CG is everybody's figured it all out at this point, so there's a way to do whatever the fuck you want. The other thing that we do sometimes in ZBrush is the materials, like if I wanted 2 different materials. And that's up here, there's the mRGB, which is M is for material, and then there's RGB and M. So you can do it all at once or you can do it individually. But what's cool about that is if I wanted like this to be glass chrome, I can fill it using just a brush that has M selected and nothing else. I could fill it with the chrome. And then if I go back to the gold and we look at everything else, now the windows are that shiny and everything else is gold. And that's just for ZBrush display. It doesn't really help for anything else, but sometimes you want that in ZBrush. Mostly, I think it's important to know that because every now and then you'll get one material like over here that's doing something weird and you're like, why is that happening? What happened there? And it's the M here. And if you want it all to be one material, pretty easy to just select a material that you like, have M on the brush, and then go to color and say fill object. It fills it all with one material. I find the biggest issues with ZBrush is trying to figure out how to fix something. You're like, what is that? What's going on? I got this thing's looking at. Had a good time on this one. Did you get everything done on the project on time? Did it all work out okay? Or-
It's we hit a snag on like our last stretch. The motion capture data came out wrong.
Oh, yeah.
I was wondering about that. It was like, to rely on the motion capture to like fix everything in the end, that can be tricky.
So yeah, but the people who the people with the mocap data when they kind of didn't like do any tests. Well, they did, but like they got too excited. They're like they test the mocap and like, oh, it worked. So they just started recording without like fixing anything.
Ah, yeah.
So the data came out okay, but the problem is that there's this zero shoulder movement.
Boy.
So like when the characters like do
Yeah. There's no
the
clavicle.
the clavicle just stays at the thing like and it just
Shit.
breaks the shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, like you go back to it was like 2003. That most characters didn't have clavicle movement, in like not even in just video games, but like Golem in Lord of the Rings didn't have clavicle movement. It's funny how it's just forgotten. Well, we don't need that. Too complicated. Let's move on.
We don't need
Yeah.
it. It was
Did you have to fix that, or is it?
unfixable.
Yeah, it's just that's the way it is.
The because we can't. We our programmer Lester Hart try to like math our way out.
Like add an extra
He tried to make it like
movement or something.
like a secondary movement.
Yeah.
The shoulder with
It
the
doesn't work that way though. I mean, if you're really smart about anatomy, you know what the tolerances are. But basically, like if you do this, nothing changes. But if you do this, a lot changes. So it's like you have to know what angle thing the clavicle actually does any movement on.
that's a problem. That she can't figure out a way to like force it to not move when it moves.
Yeah, it's always gonna move, and then you have anytime you move the arm, the clavicle goes up. That looks weird. Really enjoy rigging characters with animators because I love to talk about anatomy and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Like understand shoulder movement. That's one of the most challenging things. It's the thing that every character has to deal with.
It's better than I expected. I should have said I'm probably gonna jinx myself later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This kind of stuff always happens. Like I accidentally left a color on damn standard or something, and so you just get those like extra edges when you're not realizing you're changing materials. But it's easy to fix. You just match all of it, or you go back to painting it in RGB or M.
this is something that I haven't quite managed to fix, is every time I get a really nice poly group, if I go up and down too many times, it gets confused. It's like all broken now. But we can just go back to using the poly paint to create the masks again. So the yeah, there it is. And it's not perfect, but if you try to get a little too perfect, you end up going crazy. But as long as it looks good in the this gray material, it'll look pretty decent. It's like I just wanted those shines to feel cohesive. If there's any dents or anything that causes some issues in the shining.
Hope to keep working on it, but it doesn't really get stuff there.
Yeah, it's Santa class, but yeah, thanks for
Thank you so much.
it's for a lot today. It does not like. There we go.